We've come to a fun part of the class now where you get to learn about playing the recorder. The reason that we are playing the recorder is mainly because it's a portable instrument as opposed to, say, a piano keyboard or another type of instrument that you might not have access to. A recorder is a pretty easy instrument to find. You can find one at a music store, the PCC bookstore. There's lots of different places that they sell them, so it's easy to get a hold of. For the recorder, we're going to start really basic and just cover some basic notes and techniques. So a few things to think about when you're playing the recorder would be, first of all, your breathing. This is a wind instrument, and so you need to remember to take breaths while you're playing, and also to try to regulate your airflow so that you don't have a lot of air coming through and then a little bit. Try to keep it as regulated and steady as possible, and that may mean taking quick breaths here and there. Another thing that you want to make sure of as much as possible, even though it will be tempting, is to not laugh into the recorder, because if you do that, you'll hear a nice loud shriek, and there are a lot of different things that can elicit a loud shriek from the recorder. You'll probably find that out as you practice. But you just want to relax and have fun with it, and just regulate your breathing and think about those things as you play. Now, another thing is when you have repeated notes on a recorder, you don't have to breathe for each note. So if I want to play a bunch of G's, I don't necessarily go and breathe in between each one. All I have to do is start and stop the airflow. And then I can play as many in a row as I want without having to take extra breaths. When it comes to fingering on the recorder, we have all of these openings that we need to cover in various combinations to produce our different pitches. So we are going to stick with one octave because that will keep things simple, and it will go from middle C up to the next C. So for all of these notes, when you have the recorder here, there are the openings on the front, but there's also this one opening on the underside of the recorder, and that needs to be covered always for the notes that we are playing. So make sure that your left thumb is covering that opening. And with all of these, if you are covering that opening part way, then you might hear some screechy sounds, or it might not sound like the note that you're trying to create. So make sure that you set your fingers very firmly and squarely over those holes. So we have our left thumb in place. The first three openings will be controlled by these fingers in your left hand, so your second, third, and fourth fingers. So if I play just with that top opening covered near the mouthpiece, plus the thumb, always the thumb, that is B. If I cover the next opening down, we're going to go down in pitch or backwards in the alphabet to A. Oop, get myself centered here. You might want to hold the end of the recorder at times to help steady it. One note lower would be G. Then F. My right hand comes in for F. E. D. And then the hardest one to play is C. And the reason that I say it's hardest is because there's actually two openings here, and you have to cover both of them, and this is with your small finger, so it might be a little bit more challenging, and sometimes you might have to adjust the angle of your hand and your finger in order to actually cover them completely. If you're not covering them completely, or if your thumb is a little bit off, then again, you're going to hear a different note than you want, or it might sound kind of screechy when you play it. So we've covered the full octave except for the very top C. The top C would be played by covering just that second opening down. So I'm going to play through the entire scale, starting from bottom to top. So I'm going to start with everything covered, and that's C, and we'll go up note by note. And that's our full C major scale. Now you'll notice when I'm playing these, I am pulling my fingers back from the recorder, and that is only because I'm trying to demonstrate very clearly for you what I'm doing. But when you play the recorder, try to keep your fingers close to it. So if I wasn't demonstrating, then this would be the way that I would play. I'm keeping my fingers close enough that I can get back to those openings when I need to if I'm going to change notes. So that's what I would recommend that you do, even though you'll see me pulling my fingers back. The other thing that you want to think about with the recorder is when you purchase your recorder, there will probably be a guide inside that will show you fingerings and fingering diagrams. So for some of the notes, there are two different ways that you could finger them. And I accidentally used the other fingering just now as I was playing that octave. So as you play up the scale, that F note, that fourth note, you might think sounds a little bit off, maybe a little bit sharp. So there's another way to finger that will sound more in key. You don't have to use this fingering, it's optional, but when I perform, I like to use this fingering because it makes it sound a little bit cleaner. It would start out, instead of playing with your right hand covering that F opening, like that, you would actually cover everything except what would be the E. It lowers the pitch just a little bit. So the sound, instead of this, would be so playing that alternate fingering creates a sound that's a little bit more in line with the way that the scale should sound. So those are your recorder basics. You can now play from one octave from C to C. So enjoy getting to know how to play your recorder.